bag of...
Mr. Weinstein is maintaining his innocence, and his team has promised to appeal the verdict. Joining us this morning, Weinstein's defense attorneys, Donna Rotunno, Arthur Aidala, as well as publicist Juda Engelmayer. Nice to have you all here. Have you talked to Harvey? What's happening? How does he feel? He's in Bellevue, right, this morning?
He is. He's strong. He's hanging in, and you know, the fight is not over.
So, Arthur, some people said that maybe he was faking this illness yesterday.
I don't know about that, but I know Donna asked the judge when the judge decided he was going to be remanded to put him in a medical facility, and the judge put on the record that nobody thinks he was malingering, nobody thinks that he was faking it. We did hand over a bag of literally, I think it was 10 prescription pills with, Donna had the list of all his medications. We had a prescription from a doctor for the walker. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was taken to Bellevue for a precautionary measure, because Department of Corrections usually doesn't like to hand a bag of pills to someone who's now in their custody without having a doctor's supervision.
Because Judah, he was on his way to Rikers, correct?
He was on his way to Rikers, and then the last minute, the EMT driver decided to take him to Bellevue. Thought it was better for a precautionary measure.
All right, what's going on with the appeal? What grounds do you have for an appeal here?
Well, I think there's multiple grounds for appeal. One involves the seating of juror number 11.
Juror number 11 had a problem right from the beginning. You were concerned about a book?
Correct.
That they were writing?
Correct. And the book had way too many similarities to the types of facts in this case, and the potential research that she had done, the stories being similar. We felt that during the course of the trial, she was continuing to read books of that nature, writing reviews online about those books. And, you know, imagine being her and writing a book of this nature and then being the person who says Harvey Weinstein's not guilty. Is she going to sell books? So there's so many layers to that issue. There are evidentiary issues that we'll deal with on appeal. There are issues regarding the number of Malino witnesses that the judge allowed to testify. So there are multiple grounds.
Also, he still faces felony charges in Los Angeles, right, Arthur?
Yes, everyone's asking us about Los Angeles. I mean, it's up to Los Angeles what Los Angeles does. Obviously, the fact that he's incarcerated now takes a lot of pressure off of them. Had he been fully exonerated, he had 72 hours to arrive in LA and handle the charges there. But now that, you know, they know he's not going to go anywhere, I think they're probably going to wait until after the sentencing, which is pretty soon, is on March 11th, and then determine what they want to do and how they want to handle it.
So,
out there.
Judah, will Harvey stay in prison until March 11th?
Well, that's the question more for the lawyers. He doesn't want to, but...
You talked to him?
I spoke to him right before he went in.
And what did he say to you?
He would like to get out.
Right.
I mean, Donna and I had dinner last night and kind of licking our wounds to some degree. We've been dealing with this since January 2nd nonstop. We're going to make a decision today. We're probably going to go see Harvey and discuss it with him to see whether we want to ask for bail pending sentence, which would be to ask the appellate division to let him out right now, or just wait until March 11th and then ask for bail pending appeal, which if his name was Harvey Jones, he would almost definitely get.
But, you know, this is, well, everybody's talking about the MeToo movement, and Donna, you've been critical of it. Do you think it kind of backfired with you kind of going so strong against these women?
No, those are my views, and I will always stand up for what I believe. And I think that anytime we allow a movement to potentially influence what happens to someone in the criminal justice system, or if it affects due process or the presumption of innocence, I'll continue to say that that's an issue. I think, if anything, the abuse that I've taken has just made me more steadfast.
And what kind of abuse have you taken?
Oh, I mean, the constant barrage of comments on Twitter and direct messages on Instagram, and
questioning how you could defend Harvey Weinstein.
Questioning how I could defend him, that I deserve to be raped, that I deserve to die, that I'm evil, that, I mean, it was just, you couldn't imagine the things.
How did you handle that?
Like a heavyweight champ. Like it didn't even, she brushed right off. I went the opposite. I shut down all my social media. I didn't want to hear all the bad news. But Donna handled it like a champ, and she did take a lot of incoming. But, you know, and ultimately, though, when we first heard that not guilty, I mean, it was a tremendous relief, because, you know, you asked about him being bailed out. If he was found guilty of the Annabella Shura charges, we would not be able, by law, you cannot go to the appellate division and ask for bail pending appeal, because that was the highest count. That was an A felony. The law does not allow you to get bail pending appeal. So there was a relief, although we were very disappointed that he didn't get convicted of that top count.
But does it also sort of redefine moving forward for other women who are victims of rape, that it's more defined, that they have the ability to believe that they'll be heard more and listened to.
I don't know if I believe that. I think that every case needs to be evaluated for what it is, and I think that if we allow that to happen, I think that's scary for anyone that's charged in the criminal justice system. I think that if we allow our emotion to take over and still not look at facts and look at evidence and look at each case for what it is, rather than putting everything under an umbrella, I think that would not be good.
Juda, Harvey Weinstein obviously hired you to be his mouthpiece, right? So what does he want people to know about him? And after this conviction, do you think he's kind of had a change of heart and has some kind of remorse?
So the change of heart, he's always had that change of heart because he's always maintained his innocence, but he believes he wants to be remembered for the things that he's done for charity, for philanthropy, and he wants to really get more in touch with his children these days. And he said if he had the opportunity, he would be spending the rest of his life really making better places for people, for women, for men, anyone who's hurt, building hospitals, and also keeping better touch with his children as opposed to focusing on the work that he did.
So let me ask you, was there any of his family in court at all during this time?
He had good friends in court that showed up for him. I think it was purposeful to leave family away. The scrutiny, again, on everybody, it was pretty intense, and he didn't want to put anybody through that. So that was really
little children.
Yeah,
I mean, his children are 9 and 6. I mean, he's got little kids, so obviously.
But his brother, not there.
No, and that's who we spent the weekend with. I know was with his little kids because when I was talking to him, I could hear them in the background, and that was the part when we were all bonding yesterday. That he's a human being, and there's 2 little kids who now don't have a dad this weekend to play with.
Did he get a chance to talk to them about possibly being convicted? Do we know how he's kind of, Judah?
They had, over the weekend, they had a conversation that he might be going away for a while. I think they're too young to really understand or appreciate what that means, but he did. And he had a very good relationship with them, and he saw them often. And that's going to be the saddest part for him. And I don't know how well you can prepare somebody for the little kids for that, but they're doing the best they can, he and his ex-wife.
And I guess that's part of why you don't want him to be held in jail while he awaits the sentencing. He's not a flight risk or anything like that.
No, where's he going to go? Everyone knows who he is. He had a monitor.
Little walker, he can't go too fast.
Yeah, he had a monitor on his ankle, and they had surveillance all around his house. I mean, he wasn't.
You don't think he'll do anything to himself, do you? I mean, because that's the other issue.
I don't, and I think that, given what happened in New York with Epstein, I'm sure that everyone is
keeping an eye on him.
I also don't think that's Harvey's makeup. Harvey's a survivor. Harvey he'll fight, and he's also a pretty, one-on-one. He's a pretty charming, personable, interesting man. I made a little joke, try to be lighthearted with him over the weekend. I said, Harvey, if the worst case happens, I said, by next Friday, you'll have more friends than you know what to do with, because he is that kind of guy. He'll start schmooze. I mean, let's face it, the guy ran the biggest empire ever in movie history. Started out by a little kid from Queens. There's a certain skill set and personality set that makes that part of it happen. We don't have to talk about the criminal part. Right now we're talking about how he's surviving, and he is a survivor, and he will survive.
I agree with that.
Arthur Aidala, Donna Rotunno, Juda Engelmayer, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experiences for the last few months.
Yes.
We appreciate it.